Sorry, I don't love you. Afraid I've grown accustomed to. Cause with you something isn't wrong, something isn't wrong, something isn't right. I wish you could be happy.
Hey everyone, welcome to Geekdom is back, as is Murjani Rawls. We're talking all about A Simple Favor today, and it is a film that stars Blake Lively, Anna Kendrick, and Henry Golding, for those of you who have not seen it. And if you have not seen it, you should probably stop listening to this now. But Murjani, I know this is something we had discussed before when we both had gone to see it, so it just felt right to be talking about it today.
Yeah, I know we've mentioned it to each other like a lot since I think it came out September 14th, and I think it like came out in like a loaded weekend with a lot of like, it was like White Boy Rick, and then The Predator was like released the same week and whatnot. But like, it was a good movie. Like, it was a good like murder mystery type thing, and it was yeah, I really dug it, and I know you did too. So glad to be back on.
Yeah, just to quickly go over what the movie is about. It is a mystery thriller, and the movies I've read it as a cross between are Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train. I've only seen Gone Girl, but I do see that comparison happening in this movie and everything like that. And it was actually based off a book of the same name by Darcy Bell. Have you read the book? I didn't know it was a book before I went to go see it, so I saw the book pop up later and I was like, oh, maybe I want to read that, but I have so many books to read.
I didn't get the chance to read the book either. It's definitely on my to-do list to do, just to kind of compare and contrast to see like if it was like the same as the movie or whatnot.
Yeah, and really you have the story revolving around the main three characters. So you have Anna Kendrick as Stephanie Smothers, Blake Lively as Emily Nelson, and Hope McClendon, and also Faith McClendon, because there's a fun little twist here. And then you have Henry Golding as Sean Townsend. So Sean and Emily are married, and Stephanie is this single mother, and their kids happen to go to the same school, which is how she ends up meeting Emily. And from there, things just get weirder and weirder. And I think this is just one of those movies where you don't need it to be super fantastic to enjoy it. It's sort of just one of those movies you can sit down, enjoy, and be like, okay, that was a movie. I had some fun with it. Not the best thing in the world, but not the worst thing either.
I mean, for what it is and what it embodies, like Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively like really embody their characters really well. Like Emily is, well, from what we Emily is like this like confident, almost kind of like arrogant like wife that that Stephanie meets, and Stephanie's kind of like, she's a vlogger, she's also a widow, so she's kind of like timid and stuff like that. And then Emily kind of seeks to bring another side out of her when they become friends and whatnot, even before the whole like disappearing thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of good to see that contrast and how that like progressed in the movie.
Exactly. Plus you have Stephanie, who is this single mom just trying to get by, really, and that's why she does this vlog on the side and everything. And her views are decent. They're not as good as some YouTube stars or anything like that, but it's pretty good for what she does. And then you have Emily, who is a PR director for this huge fashion company, and she clearly likes having that sort of life of luxury. And I think it just sort of takes Stephanie by surprise how quickly Emily sort of lets her into the fold, so to speak, but she has no idea what Emily has been planning. And it's one of those things where you see this turn happen in Stephanie slowly throughout the movie, where it's like, okay, she's not necessarily jealous of Emily's life, but it's something she wishes she could have for herself and obviously for her son. And when Emily disappears, she sort of just takes over Emily's role in the household and everything like that, and does way more cooking than Emily ever did. So it's a little different, but then she sort of just becomes obsessed with figuring out what has happened to Emily, and it's sort of like, Anna Kendrick, the detective.
It is, and I know you mentioned Stephanie kind of taking over the household when Emily disappears. Stephanie is more of the nurturing type.
Yeah.
She's definitely more of like the emotional outlet, especially when it comes to Sean. Emily's more kind of cold, kind of the businesswoman and whatnot. But it's funny because especially with how Emily and Sean's relationship started, it kind of started with this like hedonistic thing on a plane, and that's how he kind of started getting enamored of her, like the sexual side. Both women kind of appeal to two different sides to Sean,
Right.
and you kind of see that play out like during the movie, especially in Emily's absence, which, like you mentioned, it's kind of Gone Girlish, kind of sorta. That movie was based on kind of like trying to rekindle love from an affair. This one is like basically on a financial situation, which like Emily kind of is frustrated with because Sean's an English professor and he's not making as much as money.
Which is funny because it's not like professors don't make at least decent money, but because she likes her life of luxury, their house is definitely, way more than what you'd expect a college professor to be living in, probably.
Yeah, she's like, you see her in like early on in the movie wearing ascots and like all these like up clothes, and then you see her closet, it's just lined with shoes and whatnot, and their house is beautiful. I mean, an English professor, you got to figure that they make decent money,
right?
But not
to keep up with Emily.
No, not at all. I guess that prompts Emily to disappear and kind of unravel this kind of mystery that Stephanie gets wrapped in, and it turns into like, what the hell happened to Emily, and all these clues and whatnot that you follow. And as you get through the end of the, towards the end of the movie, the twist gets like super weird. Like, did it get super weird to you? Because I was like, what?
Yeah, especially when they started, revealing secrets even before then. Stephanie slept with her half-brother, and the half-brother's probably the son's father, which we see that unravel. And
yeah, like, whoa.
It just got so twisted at times. And then Emily having the twin sister and then killing said twin sister, it's kind of crazy. And the fact that no one knew about the sister, I think that was something where it's like, how do you marry this person and not know that she has someone who looks exactly like her in her life? Because that would just be weird to not know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Paul Feig like directed this movie. He did Bridesmaids, he did Ghostbusters and stuff. He did Freaks and Geeks, and why you see like Linda Cardellini in it briefly and whatnot. And when I was like seeing it, I'm like, wow, she slept with her half brother. Like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. And then, like you mentioned with the twin sister thing, like nobody knew. Like, when you marry somebody, like, you don't like. How do you not ask? Like, you know what I mean? Like the whole like, hey, do you have any family that I don't know about? And because you never know. Like, she could have popped up, and you'd been like, okay, like which one is which? And then her ended up killing her, and then this whole like life insurance policy thing, and then then Emily and Stephanie were gonna like do something together, and then it didn't happen. Like, it was like very twist and turnish. Some of it was kind of ridiculous. I admit, I thought, but some of it was actually like fun. Like, it was kind of stylish. Like, it's very like, you know what I mean? Like, even the part where like Anna Kendrick dresses in, and she's Stephanie, and she dresses in Emily's clothes, which was funny. And talking to the detective, like, even those parts, like Anna Kendrick as Stephanie, she stayed as like the very like, prim and proper, like very like modest mom type, which was cool.
Plus the fact that she gets stuck in the dress just makes it even better when she's going through and trying stuff on. And then you have that moment where she clears out the entire closet after she's moved in, and then all of a sudden all of the stuff is back in there, and it's like she knows something suspicious is going on. And to quickly go back to the thing with her and her half brother, basically what happens there and why she is now a single mom is because her husband decided to take the half brother for a ride so they could talk man to man, and they both died in a car crash, which I'm betting was on purpose from just knowing the demeanor of the husband and everything. And that part seemed a little weird to me because it seemed like, based on Stephanie's character, the husband would not have been someone she would have married, but maybe that was just me. I don't know. He kind of seemed like a total jerk and everything.
I didn't think that she would either. But I don't know, like the half brother thing and stuff like that. I was like, oh, well, how convenient, like they died in a car crash. But then again, you got to figure that Stephanie, she's a widow and whatnot. Like, that's really hard to deal with. But everybody in this movie has secrets. It just happens to, Stephanie's is a little out there. But you'll figure out, Emily and kind of like her sly demeanor. She has an even bigger secret that Stephanie kind of goes to uncover. Going back to that closet thing, what I found funny was Stephanie doing the vlog afterwards. And then she's like, well, I'm not very religious, but, Emily, if you're out there, like she's hinting like she's a ghost, if she's a ghost or whatnot. That was hilarious to me. Like, this movie, it has its serious points, but it also has its like subtle comedy points too, which I thought was pretty cool.
They definitely do a nice job of giving each character, just enough backstory to keep things interesting when you think you're going to have a lull in the movie. They flash back to those moments in Stephanie's life, and I think that really helps you understand her character and what she's been through. And, while it is very strange, then you have Emily's own strangeness. You have Stephanie going and finding the house that she grew up in, which is partially burned down. And you find out, the fire was on purpose. And you get this great moment with Jean Smart as Margaret McLandon, the mom. And even though it's such a small part for her, I feel like just, the fact that they were able to get her for that sort of role is sort of a testament to what they were trying to accomplish with this movie. And I think for the most part, they did accomplish it. And it was one of those things where they just did so many little things in the movie that kept you entertained and kept you wanting to find out what happened in the end.
Yeah, it definitely like kept you guessing, because at first I'm like, why would Emily like disappear? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like, well, they had financial trouble, but it seemed like she had the life. You know what I mean? And then you see how Stephanie kind of, especially with the like assertiveness that like Emily tried to like instill upon her. By the time you get to the end of the movie, Stephanie makes a big choice and ends up doing that. And that was pretty cool. And then when you had mentioned like the mom and whatnot, like that was like the twins thing kind of got me. I'm like, wow, like she had a twin. Like then I was like, okay, then who the hell is this really Emily?
Yeah.
Who's actually doing stuff here? And then when she killed her twin, I was like, whoa. But then she set the fire to the house because they were abused by their father. Then Emily kind of felt blackmailed by Faith. She got blackmailed by Faith, and she, I think before she killed her, she said that she had like, you abandoned me and whatnot, and then just killed her, which because they were going to confess about the arson. So Emily has done this sort of thing before. So like looking on the outside in, because her husband doesn't know yet. Sean in this movie is like the most oblivious person.
Yeah.
like Stephanie's finding out about this stuff, and he's just so punch drunk on how like good looking and like sexy like Emily is and stuff like that. And especially how he tells the story of how they met and how they've kept it together, that it's just like, dude, like wake up. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I really like how like, because I've watched a lot of like murder mysteries and whatnot, and I like how this one was kind of different. Like I like how like it seemed like the good guys won kind of, but was there really? I don't know. Was there really a good guy? Do you think like?
Maybe just the kids. I mean, like really,
Yeah,
that's sort
yeah.
of the reason Emily was doing this. It's like she's not really mom material. You know, she'll go pick up the kid from school and buy him things and whatever, but she doesn't really seem too attached to what is going on in his life and everything like that. And I feel like Stephanie was obviously more of the mom figure in this, but she still had such a dark past, basically, where it's like, well, you know, obviously she's going to be upset with Emily for doing this, but then the fact that she just tries to get back at her and, you know, they do the fake shooting scene and all of this stuff, I was like, wow, this took some wild turns here. And, you know, you talked about watching a lot of murder mysteries and everything, and I think the biggest difference with this one is while we do have that detective who keeps showing up here and there, most of the work is not done by the police. You know, it's just this concerned friend who is doing everything she can, and Stephanie is someone who always goes overboard on everything, and we see that at the beginning of the movie when she starts signing up for a bunch of things in the classroom, since she knows a lot of the other
Yeah.
parents won't do them anyway. So it's like she goes over the top with wanting to do all of these things just to make everything as good as she can for her kid. And Emily technically does the same thing, but in a very different way by wanting to commit insurance fraud.
Yeah, you have two. Yeah, like you said, like you have two different sets of parents who, I mean, I don't know. I mean, committed insurance fraud. That's kind of and like faking your death with killing your twin sister. Like that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like going back and like thinking about Gone Girl and what you mentioned about the police. Gone Girl was very police oriented. Uh, Ben Affleck's character, like it seemed like all the clues that Rosamund Pike's character did led back to him like possibly murdering her
Yeah.
and whatnot. The detective here is Stephanie. Matter of fact, at the end of the movie, like she actually becomes like a part-time like private detective. So like that was pretty cool. Like you had the interactions that she had with the detective like a couple times at the house and whatnot, but like for the most part, the Nancy Drew person here is definitely Stephanie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Anna Kendrick does a very nice job in the role. Like you said, she really embodies playing Stephanie Smothers and everything like that. And we even see her vlog grow as this story continues. And eventually it hits 1 million followers, which is definitely, you know, sort of YouTube star status.
I thought it was funny. I think like the friends or the friends she had, like as they're watching her vlog, they were like, "Yeah, we were watching it. We were initially were gonna make fun of you, just to kind of like laugh at you." But that was a nice thing that you did, with the apple cider vinegar there. That like it helped and whatnot. So, yeah, I Anna Kendrick does a really like nice job as playing like like everybody's mom, like the whole like you said, like the mom that signs up for everything, like the mom that's so nurturing. Like you see that, like that's why it's so easy for her when Emily disappears to kind of just slip into Sean's arms and like become like a family unit with him because she's very homey. But at the same time, like Blake Lively also does a really good job at being Emily.
She definitely nails the part for that.
Yeah, and especially because she's in the movie, but she's not in the movie like as much as Anna Kendrick and Henry Golding.
Right.
But when she's there, like her presence is definitely felt.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things where she looked the part and she acted like, you know, she really didn't care for anything that was going on. It's like she kind of used Sean for what she wanted. They had a kid, and now they just need to figure out the finances. Like that, it was very straightforward for her. She had a very linear way of thinking. She's like, okay, we have a problem. Here's a solution. Probably not the best solution, but it was what she went with, and she stuck with it too. She was going to see the plan through no matter what happened. And, you know, Stephanie kept getting in the way of that, obviously, and Emily ended up having to meet with Sean and sort of lay it all out for him, because he probably didn't want to think that this was something she would actually do to him. But he seems very naive in this movie, and, you know, it's kind of like he was love struck, and then he did not pay attention to anything else. Every once in a while he does pay attention to the kid too, though, at least.
Yeah, at least he pays attention to the kid, but he never pays it. He's so, like, I felt like yelling at the dude. Like, he's so, like, enamored with, and Emily plays, like, a very seductive character. Like, I will give Blake Lively that. Like, the very cunning, like, seductive, whatnot. Like, it comes off like the movie screen. But, like, it's like, Sean, like, wake up, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's something going on here, like, especially with, you know, how you guys met and whatnot. And it seems like there's more chemistry with him and Stephanie, definitely, than him and Emily. Like, there's just, like, this very narrow basis, like, around, like, and Emily has contempt for him because he doesn't make enough money. But him and Stephanie were definitely not kind of meant for each other, but they kind of, like, they fit. They fit better.
I agree. And I do want to spend a little time here talking about the kids, because honestly, Nikki and Miles were like the most normal people in this movie. And the kids, especially Nikki, sort of really reacts the way you would think if he really believed, you know, his mom had died, but then she visits him. So then, you know, the adults sort of think he's just making this up. Oh, you didn't really see her. And they try to talk him out of what he knows. And I think he just reacts so well to it. And, you know, after the funeral and everything, you see the two kids get into a fight. And then Stephanie sort of just sits down with Nikki, and if he doesn't want to talk about it, she's not going to force him to, but she's going to force him to sit there with her basically until they sort of get him to calm down and, you know, not take it out on anyone else. And I think they just did a nice job with the kids, even though they aren't really a huge focus in the movie. You know, we see them here and there, and then, you know, Stephanie obviously has Nikki for days because Sean is out of the country, and she's just like, all right, guess I'm taking care of this kid. And, you know, Nikki is like, when can I go home kind of thing. And she just sort of does her best to ease him into staying with them longer because she has no idea what's going on.
Doesn't Sean think he get into a fight at the funeral? Like they get in, like he yells at him and something like that, and he's like, "I'm trying to do the best I can."
That was after the two kids were fighting with each other outside because, you know, everyone sort of heard something happening, and then Stephanie and Sean ran out, and I think that's why Stephanie ended up being the one to sit outside with Nikki, because he just wanted his mom.
Well, it seemed like Stephanie was like looking at Sean like, "How could you like yell at him like that," or like, and like calmed him down?
I think he like grabbed his arm too or something, and she sort of just sent Sean back inside.
Yeah, I like that. The kids are a plot device to show the different parenting contrasts, because Emily, like, I think she loves her kid, but it was kind of messed up that she kind of used her kid to like further along the plot. I felt like against Sean, like, I don't like visiting him while you know everybody thinks you're dead. Like, that's a little messed up, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Plus, she leaves Nikki this bracelet, I believe, that Stephanie gave her. And so,
the friendship bracelet.
Yeah, so even Stephanie, when she finds that, she's like, okay, something is going on here. And clearly Nikki did see something because he has this bracelet that he shouldn't have all of a sudden.
Yeah. Stephanie initially thought it was Ghost. But yeah, like, it was kind of crazy that Emily was kind of using Nikki as, like, I'm still here, I'm still watching you type of thing. Like, and I just felt like, wow, like, you would use your kid as, like, an extension to kind of, like, torture, like, your husband, and then, like, his, I don't know, I guess, like, I would say, like, best friend, like, placeholder, uh, as they, like, go through their romance to, like, torture them. Here, like, to Emily, I'm like, what? Okay, so everybody thinks you're dead, and I'm not, like, condoning Stephanie and, like, Sean, like, getting together, but, like, at the same time, like, what did you expect? Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you think that, like, he was just kind of, like, gonna, like, stay single or whatnot? I don't know, but yeah, that was kind of, I stopped, like, I really, like, kind of resented Emily for that. Like, when I, like, saw that happen, and I'm like, he's wearing the friendship bracelet. I'm like, wow, that's kind of messed up, dude. Like, like, everybody's, like, sad that of your possible death, and, like, yet, like, it seems like your kid is seeing a ghost, you know?
I think she probably thinks she's doing the right thing and helping him by going to see him at least that one last time before she truly reappears, basically. And really, it doesn't help Nikki at all. It would have been better for her to just sort of let them continue believing what she already wanted them to believe. So to sort of just throw that wrench in everything, especially for Nikki, I was like, ooh, that is rough. And then obviously when she comes back and, Stephanie pretends to shoot Sean, and it's sort of just like this blood bag. It's literally what they use in the movies anyway. So I thought that was pretty clever. And then the fact that she was recording everything too. She had hidden a camera so that everyone could see on a live stream what was going on and that Emily wasn't really dead. And then you have Emily getting hit by a car too. She is willing to go so far to just make this thing happen, and then to have it end like that. It's like, well, you kind of literally walked right into that one. And then it was one of the other dads that hit her.
Yeah. Like, imagine getting arrested after you get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Like, fucking karma. You know what I mean? And, like, Stephanie's blogging came in handy because apparently, like, Emily, like, predicted them turning on her and then, like, disabled the microphones. But, like, in a Saw-like twist, Stephanie had a hidden camera recording the whole thing and the whole confession and whatnot. Like, it was very, like you ever see, like, those murder mysteries? Not like Clue or anything like that. Like, where, like, maybe like Scooby-Doo, where, like, the guy's like, well, I did it. Like, it was me and whatnot. And, like, all of a sudden, like, a cop walks in and, like, or is behind the door and is like, I heard everything. It's kind of like this, but, like, with technology. But it was cool because, like, it tied in, like, Stephanie's vlog or, like, live streaming, which she's gotten over 1 million hits. Like, I would guess that after, like, somebody confesses to, like, faking their own death and trying to commit insurance fraud, of course, you know what I mean? But, like, it was a nice little wrap up to the story. Like, I didn't feel like it was, like, overdone and far-fetched. Like, it took a big thing from Emily and, like, it was the thing that kind of, like, got her out.
Yeah, I do want to quickly talk about the other parents too, because we briefly mentioned them when you said that they sort of only watched her vlog to make fun of her, but then her tips actually ended up being helpful. And I think it's one of those things where the other parents, especially Darren, who is the one who ends up hitting Emily in the end, he can tell that she's sort of the parent that it's not like she's trying to show the rest of them up, but she is by being so over the top about everything. And obviously they have come around on her a little bit, but then when they figure out or learn that she's now friends with Emily, they're like, huh, that's strange sort of thing. And I just like how they put the other parents in at sort of these right moments to have a little more comedic relief, because they weren't, the insiders basically in this whole thing going on with Stephanie, Emily, and Sean. And so you get that outside perspective too, which I like. And, like I said, this isn't the best movie I have ever seen, but it was just something that was refreshing to watch and I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would necessarily spend time rewatching it anytime soon, maybe some point down the line, but it was just overall pretty well done. And, it did pretty well at the box office too. It had a budget of 20 million and it made a little over 87 million. And I think we do need a lot of movies like that still. Not everything needs to be this giant blockbuster like Marvel or Star Wars or DC movies or anything like that. We can sort of just have these sort of middle of the road budgeted movies where it's like, this and A Quiet Place or even Get Out, and they make their money back plus some. It's like, we can sustain with some of these movies and still have, big name actors and actresses in them.
Yeah, I mean, it came out against The Predator, which was supposed, like, it was, like, projected to do all these numbers and it disappointed.
Right.
And especially, like what you mentioned, like, there's so many blockbusters. Like next year we're getting hit with, like, 3 Marvel movies, 3 DC movies, a Star Wars film. Like, it's crazy. And then, like, you have movies like this, or you have a movie like, Crazy Rich Asians or Stars Born. That is different.
And then you have all the movies that The Rock is in.
Yeah, like 15. Like, and it's funny because, like, it's basically him doing the same thing in, like, different settings and whatnot, like jumping off buildings and whatnot. But you have all those, and then there's, like, an audience for that. Like, not to say that, we're getting, like, superhero movie or, like, big budget movie fatigue anytime soon, especially, like, things like, not so much Movie Pass, but, like, AMC A-List and stuff like that. But, like, it's good to see, like, movies, especially with this and the leads, like, Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively did their thing in this. Even Henry Golding, who's having a hell of a year, like this and Crazy Rich Asians and whatnot. And like you said, like, it's different. Like, I don't know, like, I agree with you. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna, like, run to rewatch it again. But, like, if it's on, like, maybe it's on, like, TBS and something like that, or, like, something like that, I would watch it. I would watch it over again. But, like, yeah, it's a good change of pace. Like, it seemed like it hit at the right time. And yeah, it definitely made a lot of money. Like, it was projected to make, like, how much, like 12 to 15 million its opening weekend, and it made, like, 6 million its opening day, and, like, 60 million over the weekend. And then it only dropped, like, 35% in the second weekend. So, like, yeah, a lot of people, like, especially with the word of mouth and whatnot, like, and I think it had, like, you remember, like the viral campaign it had? Like, it was, like, all over Instagram, like, where's Emily? And, like, that definitely, like, helped the intrigue too, because I was like, what is this about? Like, so yeah, like, I thought it was pretty good.
When I typed in the movie to bring up the cast and everything, I saw that it was still in the general vicinity of Orange County. There were still some theaters that were showing this movie, and it came out, almost 2 months ago at this point. So it's one of those things where clearly some people are still going to see it, and it's probably, at, like, the $5 theaters or whatever right now, but still, that's money that it's making if people are, just bored and want to go check it out and see a cheap movie.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, we're getting hit over the head with movies this weekend, like Overlord, Girl in the Spider's Web. Then you had, like, movies like last week, like Suspiria and Bohemian Rhapsody, which made, like, 50 million its first weekend. Yeah, I mean, but like you said, like, with movies like this, there are always, like, for people who want, something different, there's always going to be an audience for them. There's always going to be maybe like a date movie or something like that, like for like couples and stuff to go. Like there's always going to be an audience, especially like if the word of mouth is there.
Absolutely. And I know that John Krasinski has a sequel in mind for A Quiet Place, but this is one of those movies where, I don't really feel like there's a need for a sequel or anything. I like how this ended. And, unless you want to jump 20 years ahead and see Blake Lively getting out of prison or something like that, I don't really think a sequel is necessary for this. And I really do want to see movies where it's not all sequels. And we get a lot of those these days. And obviously, Halloween is one of the recent ones, which was done way better than a lot of sequels are. So there is that at least. So, I was very thankful for that when I went to go watch it. But there are a lot of movies getting sequels that don't really need them. And I'm hoping they do not do that with this.
I don't really think there's a story to tell. Like, what does she do? She like get out of prison and then like looks for revenge and whatnot. Like, I know like in Hollywood, especially with Blumhouse, like you mentioned Hollywood, Halloween and whatnot. Like, they will make a movie for a $10 million budget, and then it will make 90 to 100 million, and it will guarantee you the sequel. That happened with Saw. That happened with Paranormal Activity and whatnot. And if there's definitely not a story to tell, like I would love to see Hollywood get away from that and go with more original stories. Like I know that we see like the MCU, and a lot of people model off the MCU because it makes a ton of money, and a lot of the movies are acclaimed. Not all of them. I'm looking at you, Thor, too. But I like that now, and especially with A Quiet Place, like you mentioned, like A Quiet Place, I think there's a lot more story that you can tell with that. But like, I like that like Hollywood is getting a little bit more comfortable like doing these one-off movies. Like it's just kind of like the one movie, and then like we're done. You know what I mean? Like I don't need, like A Simple Favor 2 or whatnot. Like
or Get Out 2 or something like that.
Yeah, like I like Get Out 2, like I was satisfied with the ending there. Like what would you like other than a cash grab? Like what other story is there to tell? Like now you're just kind of money grabbing, and I really want Hollywood to kind of just like cool the jets on that. Like MCU is cool.
And that's different too, because there's this whole universe that they can pull from. It's like there are years and years and years of stories to adapt and alter for the big screen. So that's definitely something where I think comic book movies are more of a unique situation, because it's like, okay, Batman has been around since 1939. Superman has been around for a long time as well. And you have Spider-Man, who's been around since, I don't even know, the 60s at least.
Yeah. Like, me and you talk about Stephen King a lot. Okay? It seems like they're adapting every single book.
And story.
And story. Like, it seems like it's either going to be a Netflix, a Hulu thing, or it's going to be on the big screen. Like, that's a lot. Like, Crazy Rich Asians, it's three books. So, like, I get that. Like, all right, you want to do 3 stories. Like, even with, Twilight, or even with Harry Potter, or even with, The Hunger Games. Like, there are books to tell and whatnot, but, like, at the same time, like, with these stories, like, you're trying to draw out, like look at Saw. Like, it got worse and worse and worse as you go on. So, yeah, I appreciate Simple Favor for being just this movie, just telling the story, and something that you can kind of like be intrigued with and have fun with and just kind of leave alone.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you want to discuss about the movie that we haven't touched on this just yet? I think we covered pretty much everything from, the weird half-brother relationship to the arson. And, I think it was nice to sort of have all of these different branches for the characters where it's like, okay, we could dive down this road for a little while and sort of get a better picture of their past for both Stephanie and Emily.
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. And like I said, like the half brother thing was kind of icky. But for like other than that, like yeah, I like the movie, man. Like I really did.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you so much, Murjani, for coming back on the podcast to talk about this. I know I've been trying to see more movies in a timely manner now that I have the AMC A-list.
It's tough. It's tough. There's like 3 coming out every week.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, between recording podcasts and trying to do all of the prep for the podcast, I'm like, all right, gotta read these Stephen King books, gotta watch these movies, and I can't complain because it's fun, but it can be a lot at times. So I'm hoping to catch up on some movies, go see things like First Man, Girl in the Spider's Web soon. Widows is coming out. Creed 2 is coming out. There's so many things, so little time. Story of our lives.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up today's episode. As always, to our listeners, thank you all for listening, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
See you.